We now move on. Hundreds of protesters have gathered in London, urging the UK government not to allow China to build a vast new embassy complex in the capital. The site, once home to the historic Royal Mint, was purchased by Beijing in 2018 for a reported $327 million, but years of delays have stalled approval, with the latest decision now set for January 20th. Demonstrators say the proposed embassy could become a hub for surveillance and intimidation, particularly targeting Hong Kongers living in the UK. One doctor originally from Hong Kong warned that activists fear the compound could be used not just for espionage but even for unlawful detentions. The government has not commented on the renewed concerns, but campaigners are urging the UK government to block the project entirely. Andrew KP Leong, independent China strategist, joins us live from Hong Kong now. Thank you, Mr. Leong, for joining us here at NewsX World. How are you viewing this development with the continued protests in London over this Chinese embassy buildings? Strong voices are coming in as to how this building could potentially be used, against for surveillance, particularly.
Respond to the protests in London. I've been based in Hong Kong for a long time as a Hong Konger. I strongly oppose your inviting a Japanese author or scholar to comment on Hong Kong political elections, which he knows nothing about. Because I was born and bred in Hong Kong for a long time, even predating the I was born here before the People's Republic of China. I was born in 1945. So I know Hong Kong much better. And then under the Hong Kong constitution, the one man, one vote was introduced by Beijing, not in the joint declaration. And under the one man, one vote elections, Hong Kong was given to choose its leader for the first time in so many decades of colonial rule. But then the election must be based on pre-screening, in the sense that these candidates must be trusted by Beijing, because under Hong Kong is part of China now. So any leader must work with Beijing. But it doesn't mean that there is no competition. There is now over 150 candidates electing for about 60 or 70 seats. And then I think that this comes a time with a fire, and Hong Kong needs to unite themselves against this tragedy, and also to do constructively, contribute constructively to the reconstruction of Hong Kong and addressing this huge challenge to a densely populated Hong Kong with high rises. Now I come to the London question. Well, the embassy is, of course, as whether the site was approved depends on the London's authorities. The site was a former historic site. Is the Royal Mint. In other words, is the site used for minting London's, the UK's coins. It's a huge historical significance in a financial center, the world's largest financial center. So that's point number one. Point number two, there has been a rising tide of anti-China sentiments in the UK administration and various parts of the people. Because there is a lot of twisted rhetoric, as highlighted in your panel, various other speakers. They don't understand China. So, I mean, of course, China is a one-party rule. But then it doesn't mean that there is no election in China. In the villages, for example, the leader of each village is elected by popular vote every 3 years. It is enshrined in China's constitution. And the villagers in China, amounting to 500 million people in 990 villages throughout China. 900 million is bigger than many countries, bigger than the United States. And then, of course, China, of course, is now has caused the dramatic transformation of the lives in human history. For two of the past 40 years, the Chinese people's lives have changed beyond recognition. Elections is only a process. The outcome depends on to what extent the people's life have been improved. And on that front, according to the Harvard Kennedy School study 2 years ago, according to the New York-based Endowment Trust Barometer, according to the Ipsos-based, the Paris-based Ipsos IPSOS, they all look at how various governments people respond to the government. China's ranks tops multiple ranks above the so-called democracies. That doesn't mean that China's model can be replicated by many countries. That doesn't mean that China is going to export this model. But then to say that China's government is illegitimate, is somehow suffers a deficit, is a travesty of truth. Anyway, coming back to London, I think that apart from this misunderstanding of China and the historical site, obviously there are very other protests, and there are, of course, other activists trying to stir up the protests against China. This is understandable. But at the end of the day, it's up to the London authorities to decide whether to allocate this site to build a Chinese embassy. After all, another a significant factor is that this new Chinese embassy is going to be the biggest in Europe. And the thing, and because of the anti-China sentiment, there is a reaction against this, what is perceived of China's extension of its influence. So again, all these factors must be considered.
Uh, just want to follow that up with asking your opinion on how do you think this is going to impact the UK and China relations, because this project was being seen as if it was a choreographed one that in fact Keir Starmer had high hopes from.
Well, I don't think that this is going to dramatically change the UK stance to China. Look at what the Prime Minister Starmer recently said. On the one hand, he's playing up the China threat. In fact, as I said on this panel earlier, what is the threat? What's the national security threat? China is it's not about to invade the United Kingdom. China is not trampling on the UK nationals because it's the UK's own jurisdiction. So what is the China threat? But on the other hand, of course, China's influence is perceived to impinge upon the Britain's transatlantic alliance with the United States, who of course views China as the greatest threat to American dominance, particularly in the Asia Pacific, along with its allies, including Japan and South Korea, but also the UK and the so-called Five Eyes alliance. So the United Kingdom wants to show that it's part of this alliance, in spite of the fact that the United States is imposing unilateral tariffs on UK as well and on other European countries. So I think in this kind of mixed dynamics in the world, the United Kingdom wants to recalibrate this relationship with China, as indeed other European countries. Not to embrace China entirely, because there is also a popular perception of a China's threat, but on the other hand, trying to doubling down on what they perceive as anti-China kind of measures, including suspicions of espionage and all sorts of things. But on the other hand, trying to build a more productive relationship and on trade and investment and other matters with China.
All right. Well, for now, I thank you for joining us, Mr. Leong, and giving your